Over the past few years, a subject once dismissed as science fiction has moved into the center of public conversation. Government hearings, military footage, former intelligence officials speaking publicly, news organizations treating unexplained aerial phenomena as a serious topic. What was once considered fringe is now discussed in parliaments, television studios, and social media feeds across the world. Millions of people are paying attention, and perhaps that isn't surprising. Humanity has always looked toward the sky, searching for answers, searching for meaning, searching for proof that we are part of something larger than ourselves. But beneath the fascination lies a far more important question. What happens when humanity becomes desperate for an explanation? History offers a troubling answer. During moments of uncertainty, people become vulnerable. Vulnerable to fear, vulnerable to manipulation, vulnerable to deception. And according to Scripture, deception is not a side note in the story of the end times. It is one of its central themes. Jesus warned in Matthew 24 that false prophets would arise and deceive many. Not merely influence people, not merely confuse people, deceive them. That warning feels increasingly relevant today because modern society is experiencing a crisis of trust. People distrust governments. People distrust institutions. People distrust the media. People distrust each other. Yet at the same time, they are desperately searching for something to believe, something that explains the chaos, something that explains humanity itself. And whenever people become desperate enough for answers, they often lower their defenses. That is when extraordinary claims become powerful. That is when charismatic voices gain influence. That is when discernment becomes essential. The Bible never told believers to fear the unknown, but it repeatedly warned them to test what they hear, to examine what they see, to question what appears convincing. And perhaps that warning matters now more than ever, because the greatest deception may not arrive disguised as evil. It may arrive disguised as enlightenment, as progress, as revelation, as truth itself. And that possibility becomes even more unsettling when we examine humanity's growing fascination with signs and wonders. Throughout history, signs have captivated people. Ancient civilizations built entire belief systems around unusual phenomena in the heavens. Kings consulted astrologers. Empires interpreted celestial events as messages from beyond. Entire cultures searched for hidden knowledge. The human desire to understand the unknown is nothing new. What is new is the scale. Today, information spreads globally in seconds. A single video can reach millions overnight. A single claim can dominate international headlines. A single narrative can shape public perception across continents. And in an age saturated with technology, images carry enormous power. People often assume that seeing something means understanding it, but Scripture repeatedly challenges that assumption. In Revelation, astonishing signs appear. In 2 Thessalonians, Paul warns about deceptive wonders. In Matthew 24, Jesus describes false prophets performing remarkable acts that could mislead many. Notice something important. The Bible never denies that extraordinary signs may occur. The warning is about interpretation. The warning is about who controls the narrative surrounding those signs. Because signs alone do not reveal truth. Discernment does. That distinction may become critically important in the years ahead. Imagine a world already struggling with uncertainty, a world experiencing conflict, instability,
and growing spiritual confusion. Then imagine a dramatic event capturing global attention, an event that appears to answer questions humanity has wrestled with for generations. How would people respond? Would they seek truth, or would they simply embrace the first explanation that feels comforting? The prophet Daniel described a time when knowledge would increase. That description feels remarkably relevant in the digital age. Information has exploded, yet wisdom often seems increasingly scarce. People know more facts than ever before, yet many struggle to discern what is true. And perhaps that is why deception has become so dangerous. Not because information is unavailable, but because discernment is becoming rare. The deeper issue is not unidentified objects in the sky. The deeper issue is humanity's hunger for certainty. People want answers. People want explanations. People want meaning. And false prophets have always understood that. A false prophet rarely begins with obvious lies. They begin with questions. Questions people desperately want answered. Questions that touch fear, hope, identity, and purpose. That is why false prophets have appeared throughout history. Some promised secret knowledge. Others promised salvation through human systems. Some claimed special revelation. Others positioned themselves as uniquely enlightened. Their methods differed, but the pattern remained remarkably consistent. They offered certainty during uncertainty, and people followed. Jeremiah warned about voices speaking visions from their own imagination rather than from God. Ezekiel condemned leaders who claimed peace when danger remained. The problem was never merely misinformation. The problem was misplaced trust.
Humanity repeatedly placed confidence in voices that sounded convincing rather than voices that were true. Could the same thing happen again? That question becomes increasingly important as spiritual hunger continues growing around the world. Many people no longer trust traditional institutions. Many feel disconnected from organized religion. Many sense that something is missing. That hunger is real. But hunger itself is not guidance. A starving person can consume poison if it is presented attractively enough. Spiritually, the same principle applies. The enemy does not need people to reject spirituality entirely. Sometimes it is enough to redirect their search, to lead them towards substitutes, to offer alternatives that appear profound but ultimately move them away from truth. And perhaps that is why Scripture consistently emphasizes vigilance. Not paranoia, not fear, vigilance. The ability to distinguish truth from imitation. The ability to recognize substance beneath appearance. The ability to remain grounded when confusion increases. As the end times approach, many believers expect obvious deception. But deception rarely announces itself. It often feels reasonable, compelling, even inspiring. That may be what makes it so effective. And perhaps the greatest danger is not that false prophets exist. The greatest danger is that people increasingly want what they are selling. Which brings us to a reality that feels both sobering and deeply personal. Every generation believes it would recognize deception. Every generation assumes it would not be fooled. Yet history tells a different story. Entire nations have followed false ideologies. Entire societies have embraced destructive beliefs. Entire populations have accepted narratives that later proved deeply flawed. Why? Because deception rarely succeeds through force. It succeeds through desire. People believe what they want to believe. And Scripture suggests that spiritual deception in the last days will exploit exactly that weakness.
Paul writes in 2 Thessalonians that many will embrace falsehood because they refused the truth. That statement is profound. The issue was not lack of evidence, the issue was preference. Truth often requires humility. Truth requires surrender. Truth challenges pride. Falsehood frequently offers something easier, something more comfortable, something more appealing. That tension exists today, perhaps more than ever. The world is searching for answers, searching for identity, searching for meaning, searching for hope. And countless voices are competing to provide those answers. Some point toward God, others point elsewhere. The challenge for believers is not merely identifying false prophets. It is cultivating the discernment necessary to recognize truth when competing narratives become increasingly persuasive. Because the ultimate battle of the end times may not be fought with weapons. It may be fought with ideas, with beliefs, with competing explanations for reality itself. And that battle is already unfolding. The question is not whether extraordinary signs will appear. The question is whether people will remain anchored when they do. Because Jesus never promised a world free of deception. He promised warnings, he promised guidance, he promised truth. And perhaps the most unsettling realization of all is this: the greatest deception may not convince people to believe something frightening. It may convince them they have finally found the truth right before they lose sight of it.